So really quick introductions. My name is Dr. Connie Moreno Yamashiro. I serve as the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs in our College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And I'm so happy to be here to be facilitating this presentation. And so I do have someone who will be helping me. So Shanice, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Shanice Watson. I'm a graduate student here at Fullerton, and I'm glad to have you all here.
Awesome. So Shanice will help us get through the PowerPoint as well. But if we go to the next slide, I wanted to introduce our panelists. So we have an all-star panelist for y'all today. These are some of the most incredible student leaders, human beings at the university. So you're in great, great hands. And so I would like each panelist to introduce themselves and share their name, their pronouns, their major, and any identities they hold. So we know a lot of transfer students may be a parent, or they may be a first generation student, or whatever identities you may hold. And also they're going to share with you the community college they transferred from, because they're also all transfer students, and kind of share a little bit about what the transition like for them transitioning from the community college to Cal State Fullerton. So Amelia will get us started.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Super happy to be here. My name is Emilio Laramasa. My pronouns are he, him, his. My major is psychology, and I minor in anthropology. I am a first-generation student. I was born in Mexico, so I am also an immigrant. I transferred from Fullerton College. I graduated in May of 2018, so go Hornets. And my transition to Cal State Fullerton was probably pretty stressful, I think. Being a spring transfer, that the whole time that you get to transfer is compressed down to a month as opposed to like 6 months. So it's a lot of fast paces. I made a lot of mistakes that I hope none of y'all get to make. But I'm here now, and I'm super happy to be here, and I can't wait for the rest of this panel.
I'm muted. Hi, all. My name is Gabby. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a psych major. Some identities that are really important to me. I have a disability, so I use DSS. I am also queer, so I use like the LGBT Queer Resource Center. Those are like really important to me. I'm also a first-gen student. I transferred from Golden West College in 2000. I finished there in 2014. I don't remember their mascot, so I'm like super excited that Emilio does. And then my transition I feel like was a little bit different. I finished at Golden West in 2014, and I didn't start Cal State Fullerton until 2018. So I had about a 4-year gap where I was working full time in between. So I experienced a lot of that, like trying to get back into like a school mindset after having been away. And then I was also like an adult reentry student. So that was a really interesting journey. Love that for me. So I can kind of speak on that in a little bit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Linares. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm actually a student in grad school in the Master's in Public Administration program. My focus is on public policy. I'm a first-generation Latina. I am married. I am a mom of 3. I have a learning disability. I'm also part of DSS, the Disability Support Services Center. I grew up in a working class family with undocumented parents. I'm currently the chair of the ASI Board of Directors and one of the elected directors for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, so our college. And my transition from a community college was very difficult because I came from Irvine Valley College, so it was a smaller college compared to Cal State Fullerton, which has anywhere from 40,000 to 41,000 students. I was also a mom. My youngest daughter was about 2.5 to 3 years old. I didn't have a reliable daycare. I couldn't find parking. Sometimes it'd take me like 1.5 hours, 2 hours to find parking, a lot of driving around. That was very stressful. And so also I signed up for too many courses my first semester. I thought that a 3-unit course at Irvine Valley College was the same thing as a 3-unit course at Cal State Fullerton. It really wasn't. At Cal State Fullerton, it required a lot more reading, a lot more work, heavier textbooks. And so I learned very quickly that I shouldn't overdo it, trying to take 15 or 18 units. I scaled down the following semester, and so that was really helpful for me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sergio Torres. My pronouns are he, him, his. My major is literacy, and I have a minor in Chicano studies. I identify as a Chicano. I transferred from Santa Ana College, and my transition was honestly very hard. It was a very different workload from community college. I also felt very out of place. For a while, I was commuting from my hometown of Santa Ana. But then I moved to Fullerton, so that was a whole other thing, trying to adapt to a new home, a new school. It was a really big school, and I felt out of place. But I connected with a lot of good people on campus, and it was a really good experience. But overall, my experience was very positive, and I hope to share my stories with y'all. And I apologize for my camera being off right now. It's not working.
No worries, Sergio. Thank you. So as you can tell, we have a lot of amazing students on this panel from holding lots of different identities. Some have had very linear paths, some have not, some have taken a break in between community college to here, others have not. So you're really gonna get a good glimpse of many identities and many experiences our students are gonna be experiencing. So we'll go to our next question. So could you share, the presentation today is called the written and unwritten roles. So can you share the written and unwritten roles about being a student in this virtual environment? So this is very real and very present to our experience. So Gabby, can you start us off?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that was both written and unwritten was like people were, especially during the transition to virtual learning, people were like, oh, like try to schedule your time, but they didn't really say what that meant. So in March, when we transitioned online, I was like, okay, cool. So like I'll work on schoolwork from like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then after is like free time. But like that 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., I didn't schedule any further. So then once I started doing that, like actually scheduling like, okay, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., like I work on this class. And then from 10 a.m. to this, I do this. That was really helpful for me, even though my classes were asynchronous, so they didn't have like a specific meeting time. It was still really helpful for me to like hold myself accountable to like, okay, every day at the same time, I work on this class. And that was really, really useful to me because especially when you're at home and like Maria had said, like it's really fast paced. Like it can be a lot compared to a community college class. Scheduling your time like that was, I think, the most useful thing that I did once we went virtual.
Yeah, I think for me, the written rule, I would say, which I found to be really important because when we transitioned in March, we still had to meet over Zoom, and we were still expected to complete the same amount of work that we had been assigned in the beginning through our syllabus. So most professors will request that you turn on your camera, and though legally you're not required, you don't have to turn it on. It is kind of like a sign of, I don't want to say a sign of respect, but something like that, where you acknowledge that, your class is important to you. Now, if you cannot turn on your camera, some professors are super understanding. You just have to message them and let them know, maybe I have children in the background, or maybe I don't have a space that is my own during class. So is it okay that I have my camera off? So you kind of just have to communicate with the professor. I had a class this fall, and only 3 of us would turn on our camera, and then the rest of the class didn't. And so the professor had mentioned how it just feels really weird. Like there's not even a picture. So like it almost felt like you were talking to, like there was no one on the other end, because also the people didn't unmute themselves or like write in the chat. And so the professor a lot of the times didn't know, like, is there someone actually on the other side, or do they just have, are they all only logged on? So I think just participating is really important to do as much as you can. I think unwritten rule, I'm one of those people that talks a lot and participates a lot, and sometimes it may be too much. And so I would say don't take up too much space. Don't be the only one talking the entire time. Maybe allow for others to also share their thoughts and their opinions. And then one thing that I think is really important, I mentioned earlier, don't sign up for too many classes. So basically don't assume that because we're in a virtual environment that you'll have more time. This, pandemic has affected our mental health, our emotional well-being in many ways. And so I think it's really important to make sure that you schedule self-care as well, and time for you to do, reading or fun things that are just for you. And Zoom fatigue is real. After a while, you're exhausted of being on Zoom. So definitely don't overdo it.
Yeah, so I'll go next, so that's all right. So written rule, for sure, you're expected to do good. You're expected to pass your classes and do good in all your classes. And an unwritten rule is it's hard, especially in this environment, virtually. Like Maria said, it's virtual Zoom fatigue is for real. It really affects your writing and your reading and networking and extracurricular activities. It really does, because it's all online. So I like to welcome you all to the grind. It's for real. You're expected to do good, and I hope you all do good. And I know you all can do good, but just know that right now it's a little hard. But there's a lot of resources on campus. So another unwritten rule is that there's a lot of resources on our campus for your support, academic support, peer support, mental health support, health support. So there's a lot of resources out there for you. But written, for sure, you're supposed to do good, and we're all Titans here. We're all support each other, so we're all here for you.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with what everyone has said. It definitely, you do have to take time for yourself. Going to school in person and taking 12, 15 units is doable when you're going to school in person, but when you're going through that virtually, it is stressful. It does strain a lot of your mental health and your physical health too. I think one of the written rules that many of my peers have said is to really focus on your work. You have to be self-disciplined. So if, like Gabby said, you make a schedule, but the next part is that you have to actually stick to that schedule and hold yourself accountable. I can't speak for everyone else, but I definitely know that I've made a schedule many times and I didn't go through with it how I wanted to, but it's just a learning process for all of us. And I think one of the unwritten rules also is to communicate, honestly. Over the fall semester, I was a peer mentor to first year students. And a lot of the times I found that many students didn't do their work because they didn't ask the questions that they needed to. And it ultimately ended up resulting in not just them having that question, but a lot of other students having the same question. So if you ever have a question, no matter how dumb you think it is, ask it, because chances are like 5 other people will have the same question and are probably just embarrassed to ask. And I also think it's important to stay communicated with classmates, with friends. because it's very, going to school online is very isolating. You're just stuck in a Zoom, or you're just reading off of your computer, and it gets boring, it gets stressful, and you just need someone else to talk to relate about what you're going through, and just to maybe to even vent about the things that you're going through, about an exam that you're stressed about, because having no one to tell your everyday issues to can get a little overwhelming, and it won't do anyone good.
Thank you all. Those are so helpful tips. So really, few I want to highlight is really being disciplined. So have a plan, but follow through. But what I'm also hearing is having some grace for yourself if you don't follow through with that plan. It's like, it's okay, we're going to try again. It was a rough week. It was a rough time in the world. What you fill in the blank. So giving yourself some grace too, and getting back to that plan and sticking to that plan as best as you can. Communicate. You cannot over communicate in this virtual time. And that's across for anything. So if you need help with something, you tell us. You reach out to the student success team, or you contact your professor. If you're having a hard time, if you get sick, if something happens, you have to communicate. I mean, you don't have to, it is a choice. So I'll clarify, it is a choice, but I hope you choose to communicate, because that is when the instructors can work with you. That's when people like myself can connect you to resources and support you. But without that communication, we simply don't know. So I love that one. And during this time, you know, mental health, it's real. Mental health challenges is real. It's persistent and prevalent during this time. So we want you to take good care of yourself. We have resources that we'll highlight a little bit later. But thanks, y'all. Let's move on to the next question. All right, so for the next one, can we talk about the written and unwritten rules about community college courses versus Cal State Fullerton four-year university courses? So Maria, can you start us off?
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button. So I'll say written. So I mentioned this earlier too, courses in a four-year university feel a lot heavier. I don't think that they feel a lot heavier. They actually are a lot heavier. A lot more reading is involved. We are required to purchase more textbooks. And then on top of the textbooks, there's all these articles that we're also given throughout the semester to read. Some of them are in the syllabus, some of them are not. And then, you know, last minute get added because the professor feels like the material aligns with whatever we're discussing that week, which is totally fine. And then I'll say, courses in a community college were a lot easier for me. So it was a lot easier for me to keep up my GPA while still being involved in other things. But I will say that in both instances, I visited my professor so that they could get to know me on a personal level. I'm one of those people that I'm very comfortable with being very vulnerable. And that has saved me a lot of times because professors get to know me, my personal life, you know, depression that I suffer from. And so once something happens during the semester that I may share, you know, was very triggering, they know where I'm coming from because they've gotten to know me and the struggles that I go through. I'll say unwritten, time goes by really, really fast. You may not think so. You get your syllabus, you know, that first week and you think I have a lot of time. I still have a month and a half till my midterm, but it comes by very, very quickly. I do have a learning disability. And so I have to make sure that I keep up with my work. I can't do like the last minute studying because I won't retain the information. So I will say, add that to your calendar, add it to your planner. And at the same time, get involved early, find a mentor. And I say this because you may think about applying to grad school. For me, I applied very last minute. I didn't think that I would be applying and I thought I would just do my bachelor's and I would be done. And then I was motivated to apply. And just a couple months before applications were due, I decided, okay, I'm going to do it. But because I had already networked since the beginning when I transferred to Cal State Fullerton and I had already been connected, it wasn't too hard for me to be able to find people who would support me and write a letter of recommendation. So for sure, stay in touch with mentors, your assistant and associate deans, and faculty.
Yes, hello. So for me, I'm gonna be very honest. When I came into Cal State Fullerton, I wasn't the biggest fan of reading, and I wasn't the strongest writer. And I knew that you had to be when you're doing your undergraduate for sure. You have to do way more reading and writing. So I didn't really realize it until I got to campus and I got over I finished my first semester, and honestly I didn't do good in one of my classes. And it was because of my time management skills. I think it was just a lot more reading and writing compared to community college courses. Um, and you just have to be prepared for that. So just make sure, like Mira said, just make time. Also, a big thing for me was connecting with other students who have kind of gone through the experience. So connecting with somebody, getting peer support is very important to get through the semesters. Um, but overall, the thing that helped me the most was something that helped me tremendously was connecting with professors. Sometimes courses can be hard. They can be time consuming and testing to your knowledge, but when you connect with professors, it makes it really, really easy. Uh, um, and I can't stress that enough. To connect with professors is a very, very important thing in your academic career, not just for your academics, but for after, if you want to apply to grad school, if you want to apply to a career, it's very good to have someone in your support for your career or your academic dreams.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with as what Maria has said and what Sergio has said. Before I forget, I do want to stress the fact that finding a mentor is essential. Honestly, connecting with faculty and staff will help you get well. It'll help you have the upper hand when it comes time to applying to grad school or just to finding out information that can be of your benefit that not everyone knows about or that isn't you know overtly I guess promoted to students. But I think one of the written rules about community college classes versus classes here at Cal State Fullerton is that classes at community colleges are much more straightforward. They're very to the point. It's just lecture. You do a lot of in-class work. At least that was my experience. Um, as opposed to coming to Cal State Fullerton, I, I can't speak for all the other majors, but at least for psychology, it gets much more past theoretical basis, a lot of analyzing and figuring things out for yourself, of like jumping to conclusions, doing research too. I don't think I've done as much research at community college as I've done now, and read a ton of research articles too. Um, I also want to say that in my first semester from transferring here, I made the mistake of taking a bunch of English classes for my general education, my requirements, and that was very stressful. I remember for finals week, I had 4 essays due the same day, all from a different class, and it just wasn't great. So I definitely recommend to having varied classes. Don't take classes in the same field for your general eds. I can't stress that enough. I really wish that I took classes in, in art, in science, anywhere else. And yeah, it's a lot of time. Taking classes here it is important to have a lot of time management skills. As I said before, communication with professors and students too. And you just have to be disciplined and really, if you're not a strong writer, just get through it, right? And I when I started at Cal State Fullerton, I wasn't as good of a writer as I think I am now. So you do get better with time because you do keep getting these challenges in writing, and they'll ultimately help you do much better in your writing. And of course, reading, you have to read for every class that you're in, I think. So just be self-disciplined, learn from your mistakes, and don't be afraid to do what you love in regards to your classes, because you have a lot of freedom here.
I think for me, like everybody else said, reading was a really big thing. I was always pretty good about reading my textbooks. I read my textbooks when I was at Golden West. What I never did though, and I always heard this tip, but I was like, all right, whatever, it's all the same, is everybody was like, oh, read before you get to class. Like read the subject before the lecture. And I was like, oh, it's all the same. Like as long as I read it, I read it. So if I read 5 chapters the night before the test, it's the same thing. It's not. It's actually super different. Don't do that. So reading, like actually staying current with the reading and going into class already having some exposure to the material is super, 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 super helpful. I only started doing that like this year. So I would highly recommend it. It made classes a lot easier. Like it made it easier to go to the lecture and actually like engage with what was said. There were some classes where especially for like the upper division, like laboratory classes for psych, I would go to a class and I would sit there and like this person was giving me information and I had no, like my brain didn't know what to do with it because I'd never heard of the words he was saying before. So reading ahead of time is really, really useful. Also, ask your professors about using the edition before. So if your textbook is like the 5th edition, see if you can use the 4th edition because you can get that on Amazon way cheaper. Because I try to pay as little for textbooks as possible. I'm trying to keep my financial aid for like my rent and stuff. So see what kind of workarounds you can do. Like people said, communicating with your professors and communicating ahead of time. Or like just being proactive, like using the University Learning Center. Like Emilio said, like, oh, like if you're not a good writer, we have a writing center. So even like don't wait until the day before the essay is due, like go right away and be like, hey, like this is what I'm planning, this is what I'm doing. Like actually use the resources that you have available before you're in an emergency. I think that's the biggest thing, was just being really proactive. When I was at Golden West, I felt like my classes were a lot more passive. Like I showed up to them and I did the reading like on my break at work. And I did fine. Whereas I feel like at Cal State Fullerton, like I had to work harder to get the same grades. It wasn't a passive thing. Like they really required engagement in a way that I wasn't really used to. And then like Emilio said, getting a mentor. I think the biggest thing for me was finding somebody who was doing the job that I wanted to do and just asking them like, how did you get there? I came into Cal State Fullerton really interested in doing biopsych, and I sat down with one of the psych professors during her office hours and was like, how did you get here? Like, what are you like, what steps did you take? Would you recommend that? And then when I realized that biopsych wasn't for me, I found somebody else who was doing what I wanted to do and sat down with them and asked like, hey, how did you get here? Like, what steps did you take? Would you recommend those? So finding a mentor really early, like other people said, is just super groundbreaking.
Perfect. So preparing for reading, accounting for reading, putting it on your calendar, designate time for reading, studying, doing homework, all of that good stuff. I'm getting a lot of questions to the Q&A box, so thank you. And I'll kind of address that now. A lot of you are asking, how do I get a mentor? Like, you know, the panelist is saying, get a mentor. So there's lots of different ways. I think some of the easiest ways is connect with your faculty. So visit their office hours. All faculty must hold office hours, even right now during this virtual time. So you connect, schedule a time to meet, visit their office hours, drop in, introduce yourself, especially within the major. Again, what Gabby was saying, how did you get to your career, all of that stuff. Start building that relationship. And also connect with us in the Student Success Center. I mentor many students, formally and informally, just helping you navigate and prepping for grad school, whatever is next for you. So again, it is very possible, but it does require that you are active in reaching out to folks and sustaining those relationships. So that's really important. So again, because we're virtual, send us an email and we'll set something up and we'll be happy to connect with y'all. So hopefully that helps. I know we probably got like 5 of those questions in the Q&A box right now. So we'll go to the next question. I do want to be mindful of time. Panelists, maybe just your top suggestion in regards to the written and unwritten roles of making friends, getting involved, finding a tight community in this virtual time. And if someone's already said it, you can just go to your other suggestion that you may have. So Sergio, can you start us off with this question?
Sure. Yes, of course. So be open to different things for sure. Now it's all virtual. So be kind of prepared to kind of to go with the flow in a way. But also kind of keep in mind that it's very important to connect with Cal State University Fullerton students, faculty, and staff. So just be open to new things.
Yes, definitely be open to new things. I would suggest getting involved. Go to Discover Fest, find out what different types of clubs that we have to offer. There is a lot of variety. If there's something that you like, chances are that there probably is a club about it. And oftentimes these communities are small than as opposed to classrooms and stuff. So you can really get to know the people that you're connecting with, even if it's virtual.
I'm going to say send the message. So send the message in the group chat, send the message in whatever like group me you're added to, send an email to somebody. I think that was the biggest thing. Like I got added to group me's and I was like afraid to send a message, but just like literally be like, hey, how's everybody's semester going? Like the smallest things can start conversations. So really don't be afraid, send the message. Worst case scenario, nobody replies to it and you send a different message somewhere else.
Yeah, so a lot of the clubs have gone virtual as well. I think we have over 300 clubs. I don't know anymore this semester. It can change every semester. So attend those virtual club meetings because of the virtual environment. And because I'm one of those people that I have to be around others, like that's just what brings me happiness. And I miss hugging people. I've attended a lot more virtual club meetings. At least in the fall semester I did, than any other semester that I've been part of Cal State Fullerton, and I transferred in like 2016. So for sure attend club meetings, connect with peers through there, and then in class, exchange phone numbers. So like Gabby said, message people. So sometimes on the chat, I would privately message a student and say, hey, I loved your answer that you gave. It seems like we have a lot of like, I don't know, like the same mentality almost in the way we address these things. I'd love to exchange phone numbers if you're comfortable. And then that led to us following each other on social media. I'm super active on social media. So I've actually made a lot of friends that way. And I've made friends from other states as well. You then, after you have a phone number, you all can create a Discord account through the Discord app or GroupMe and create a study group. So we did that for our economics class, which I'm not an econ major or minor whatsoever, but it was a required course. And that really saved me because there is no way I could have passed that class without all of my peers and their support and my professor. So yeah, definitely try something like that.
Perfect. So key to all of this, you do have to take a step, and that is so important. So we can have all the desires and hopes and want to have the best college experience virtually or in person when we're safely able to do so. But you do have to take some steps and be proactive, and it could be very terrifying, which I definitely understand and get, but it could have so many rewards. And so we want you to have the best experience here. So Shanice, we'll go to the next question. And this question is going to be specifically for Emilio and Sergio. They're particularly two students who transferred during spring semester. And being a spring transfer can be unique in many ways. So Sergio and Emilio, can you talk about the written and unwritten rules about being a spring transfer?
Yes, I honestly could go on for hours talking about being a spring transfer, but I will keep my responses very short. I think the written rules about spring transfer is have everything ready, like 2 months before you have to apply, because your application window is literally a month. And in like, I look back at it now, but I applied, I submitted my application, and it felt like 2 days later I was notified of my acceptance. But it was probably a little bit longer than that. I also think get connected with the school that you're hoping to transfer to as soon as possible really goes a long way. Because me being a spring transfer, and as I said, everything is compressed to a month, I missed a lot of deadlines that I was unfortunate, it was unfortunate. It was financial aid deadlines, registration. It was a very stressful time for me being a first generation student too. No one told me what transferring was like. I I was fortunate though to go to my transfer center at Cal State Fullerton. I mean, at Fullerton College, sorry. And they were a wonderful space. They really helped me answer the questions that I needed answered. Going to those Cal State Apply workshops really go a long way. And if you are thinking of going to grad school, definitely go to these workshops for grad school, because just because you did it once doesn't mean you'll remember how to do it. And there's a lot of very confusing questions. And as far as unwritten rules about being a spring transfer, is one of the things that saved me a lot was that I have a friend that goes to Cal State Fullerton, and she helped me register. She basically registered for me, because I just didn't know how to navigate the page. The orientation that I had to do was pretty outdated, I think. But I, as far as having support, having a friend that has been there, she literally took me the first week of school and walked me around the school and told me this is where you'll basically find your life. And she took me to all my classes and helped me feel comfortable. And just when the time comes for all of us to return in person, I really do hope that you can make those relationships with other students so that they can help you find your community, as we said before, and to help you get around, because our school is huge. And yeah.
Yes, for sure. I want to highlight kind of the stressful time of the year to transfer to a community college, a university. For me, it was very stressful. I had a lot of troubles navigating financial aid, um, housing. I also was moving in the middle of trying to start a new semester, so it was very, very different for me. Also, when you transfer, when you get to the university, kind of unwritten rule is that the semester is in full swing. There's a lot of things happening. A lot of people are like myself and some of my panelists as well. Already they're ready to graduate and ready to go to graduate school. So it's a very fast-paced time. I believe more so than the beginning of the year, like fall. Um, so it's a very important to stay on top of all your things. It's very important to connect with all the resources that we have on campus, like counselors. You could also make appointments with financial aid with any um, people that you may need help with. So it's very important to just kind of be aware and be prepared to get it going and to just hit it in high gear and hit the ground running. And hopefully, if any problems come up, like we stated, there's a lot of resources out there for y'all. So uh, don't hesitate to reach out to people.
Sounds good. Thank you, Emilio and Sergio. I agree. I feel like with transfer students, y'all are the only new students at the university at this time. And so that's really exciting. So people want to connect with you. They want you to join their organization. They want you to feel part of this community. But again, it's taking that step to actually move forward with those actions and seeking out the support systems in place. Because you're new. And even though you've been really successful at another college, it may be really different here. So we want to be able to help you here. So I'm looking at our time, and let's get to our last question. And with our last question, actually, we have this tablet activity. So if you all want to, just in the chat, quickly add if you have one goal for yourself. So on the chat, so not the Q&A, one goal you have for yourself in your first semester. We're going to do an activity, but I want to be mindful of time and respect your time. So if you want to add in the chat, great. We encourage and support that. And then we'll transition to our last question. So our last question, Shanice, if you go to the next slide, share any final thoughts. So they'll share any final thoughts and advice they may have for you as brand new Titans and brand new spring transfers to our university. So Gabby, can you get us started?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, the biggest thing is if you have a question and it hasn't been answered yet, like I think there were questions about like, oh, like where do I find these clubs or where do I get involved? Where do I find affordable housing? Email Dr. Moreno Yamashiro. Like that's what she does. That's like her whole thing. I mean, she does a lot of other things too, but it's really important. So email people if you have questions. That's really important.
I can go next, but that's okay. And this was also part of the Q&A, and I had already written it down on my notes because I thought I would forget. But before you purchase your textbooks, because you can go to your student portal and then through there, there's a section that says textbooks, and you click on that, and it basically takes you to the bookstore website. And then you put like the class that you're taking with which professor you're taking it, and then it tells you what textbooks they require. Confirm with your professors first that the ones in the system are the correct ones, because you will find them through that student portal, but sometimes professors make typos or they put the wrong edition. That has happened to me where I'll order the textbooks early. No one ever told me about this, so I didn't know. I just bought the textbooks, and then I'd get to class, and then the professor would say, oh, I'm so sorry, everybody, that was not the correct edition, and now I have to send it back to Amazon. And so that was just more work for me. Or sometimes they forget to remove a book altogether. Then there's other times when they say, oh yeah, I have to input these 3 in the system, but one of those 3 is not required. You don't even have to purchase it. I'll put the PDF on the student portal or Canvas. So I would say email your professor. Sometimes the emails are not posted in the student portal, so you can Google their name. So like CSUF and then professor and then their name. And then it'll give you their email, and then you can email them directly. But I would say check maybe at least 3 weeks before your class is set to start, just so you can get them in time.
I'll go next if that's okay. Definitely my advice for you all is to have faith in yourself. I know a lot of the stuff we've said so far sounds a little scary and stressful, but you've made it this far, you've successfully transferred. Have all the faith in yourself that you will continue to achieve and do all the fantastic things that you want to do. Look at all of us here. We're here giving you back all of the fantastic information and experiences that we've had. And maybe one day that'll be you up here giving back to future transfer students. So please believe in yourself. Never doubt whatever it is that you'll do, and be open to change. Honestly, there are a ton of things that I'm doing now that I did not envision myself doing when I started college. And that's just one of the amazing things about college, honestly. I really love being in college. I love the environment, the connections that I've made. So just make the most out of it too. And always have someone to lean on, because we won't always be our best. And you need someone to help you get through those rough patches so you can continue to be your best.
Yes, congratulations, you all made it. Welcome to the Titan family. So just make the best of it, have fun, connect with people, connect with professors that you want to, mirror and maybe follow in their footsteps. For me, the biggest things that opened the doors for me was being involved in my community and giving back. So connect with clubs, make a difference in your community, because you all are future leaders of your careers, of your fields. So do the best that you can. And again, welcome to the Titan family. And please feel free to reach out to any of us. I'm gonna put my email in the group chat. I'll be happy to be a mentor to any of y'all. I know that you all are asking how to find mentors, and I'll volunteer. I know that my other panelists will hopefully volunteer as well. But there's all the resources out there. I've had a lot of doors open for me. I'm about to graduate. I'm very blessed, but it wasn't easy. So get ready to do some hard work and get ready to have a really great experience here at Cal State Fullerton.
Thank you, Sergio. That was a great way to end the final words. So we're so excited to have y'all join us this spring semester. You're officially Titans. You're part of the family. We know it's a rough time, y'all. It's a rough time in the world. This is a rough time day to day. It is rough. And so we also, while acknowledging that, we also want to be helpful as possible. Again, you have a question, you reach out to the Student Success Center. Shanice, can you go to the next slide? I think we have, is there a next slide? Yeah, okay, good. Reach out to the Success Center if you're like, I don't know who to ask. I don't know if this question makes sense. Email us, hssuccessteam@fullerton.edu. Our team is amazing. Any question you have, we will answer or direct you to the office who will be able to support you. We answer our phone. We're virtual. Robin is on this call. Robin Go is our administrative support assistant. She's fantastic. She answers the phone. So if you want to talk to a human being, call us. Our phone number is right there. Take a screenshot of this information. Again, we want to be able to make you feel that you belong to this community, that you have the resources to be successful. If you're struggling, reach out, over communicate every single time, especially right now during this virtual time. So again, we're so excited. I'm looking at some of the questions coming in the chat. I know I'm getting some students feeling just like a little worried, feeling overwhelmed with taking 12 courses, and is that going to be okay? And so I'll say a few things, and maybe if one or two other people want to say things to kind of help you, is that, you know, you're enrolled now and you got a chance, like a week, to kind of figure out how classes are. Go to class, get the syllabus, get your planner, get a planner. If you have one, use your phone, whatever system. There's online planners, systems. And so kind of see what the semester is going to bring. Write down the dates. If you're taking a live class, more online class, it's like asynchronous is what we call it at this university. Again, map it all out, put in the reading time, self-care time, and look at it all. Does this feel manageable? Does this feel too much? Am I already stressed and it's the first week? If so, reach out to the success team. We're going to be able to help you. We're going to give you some options. Again, you are not in this alone, even though I acknowledge and recognize that being on this call and just seeing a quarter of my body does not feel like I'm here with you, but we're here with you. So again, don't hesitate to reach out, and I would expect that you would reach out should anything come up. So again, just because you're enrolled in 12 doesn't mean you have to. I'm by no means saying drop all your classes, because that is not it. I want you to look at what you are signed up via the syllabi and see, does this make sense? Does this feel right for you? And if it does, awesome. If we need to help you with advising that first week, we can do so. So again, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, especially as you're starting the semester. Any last tips or suggestions for folks from the panel?
Yeah, I'll say my first semester when I transferred from Irvine Valley College, that was the one semester that I thought, I'm not meant for this. I don't think this is for me. I think my associates is as far as I've gone, and I did think of dropping out. And then thankfully I met some amazing peers who, you know, it's really important to build a community of people, especially if, like for me, I was a parent, so finding other student parents for me was imperative, because then we would do play dates while we studied. So that was really helpful. So I will say, do not doubt your capability, because you've gotten this far. And so just keep going, keep pushing. By no means do we want to scare you at all. We just want to be very transparent, and we want to share things that we wish others would have shared with us when we first came in. But you got this, you can do this. It's honestly, it's not hard. As long as you really focus and organize yourself, you'll be good. And even if you fall behind a little bit, I think one thing that's really, really important to remember is that we need a 2.0 GPA to graduate. And I really don't want people to define themselves by their GPA, because that doesn't mean that you're not smart or that you're not intelligent or that you don't work hard. There are many other factors in our lives that could be affecting us. For me, again, I'm a mom of 3. My kids are now learning virtually, they're home. And so I have to focus on that. And so I try not to be too hard on myself. So don't be hard on yourself either. We all have a bad semester. I have not met one single student who hasn't had at least one bad semester. So it could happen, and that's okay. You just, focus next semester. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Maria. Anything else from anyone else on the panel before we wrap up our time? Oh, this has been so good. Hopefully this is helpful to y'all. Again, I will just stress it again, reach out, communicate. If you feel like you're not doing well in the semester, reach out to your instructor, reach out and email the Student Success Center, and we will help you. The most difficult thing that we encounter is students come to us during finals week or after the semester and said, I struggled back in February. I'm like, oh, I wish I knew in February. I could have helped you so much more. I could have made this less painful for you. Over communicate. We are here for you. We're excited you're here. And thank you so much for joining us. I know we went over a little bit.